All right, welcome to Friesen Art Symmetrical Collage. You can see on your screen that we've got two examples of compositions with symmetrical elements. If you don't know what symmetrical means, it's when you have an image or a picture where it's got something reflected. So it's the same on both sides. So you can see this person looking off this way, mirror image of the same person doing the same thing. We've got another person here, another person. We've got these elephants, even the trunks are doing the same thing. And then if we look right here, this one elephant, that's this and this F are the only things that are not symmetrical, that don't have a matching piece that's exactly the same. And so for this project, if you have one or two elements, two pictures in there that are symmetrical, that's great. Not everything has to be symmetrical. You're gonna make it how you want. If we look at this one, we've got a person here, a person here. The board is just on its own, nothing to match it. Same with the symbol once again. And then the tree is symmetrical, but our protagonist here is jumping over and just one of them. So how do we do this? Where do we get our inspiration? So for me, what I'm encouraging you to do is to make the collage about something you love or that you're interested in, just to show people what you like, but also make it in an interesting way. For me, you can tell I'm really into comics. I really like these old ones from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And so I go to the Digital Comic Museum. You can do that as well. If you're into other things, sports, people, if you want to take your own photographs and then collage those, that would be awesome. You can also, if you have artwork that you've made and you want to take pictures or screenshots of it and then work with it and make it a collage, that's another thing that you could do, make them symmetrical. Lots of choice in this project. So for me, I'm going to take this comic. I like these comics because I can grab one page. And for this project, you need three elements or three different people, objects, or things in there that you can make symmetrical. So I like this image right here of this scientist getting haunted. I like the pouring over here, and I like this this weird creep looking in the window. I want to take that and make that an element too, because I want this to be kind of suspenseful and a little bit of a spooky kind of concept behind it. And so for the craft, for the app that we're going to use, the default one is going to be Pixlr. Pixlr is free to use, and you can use it on a desktop, a Chromebook, or on a tablet. If you have another app that you like doing digital art with, feel free to use it. I love Adobe Fresco. There's quite a few out there that are free, but not all of them work on a desktop. So that's why I'm going to show you on here. Pixlr X, we're going to use the design one because it's got less tools on it, so it's easier to start off if you haven't done this before. When you click on the design, you can get rid of the banner. You can always pay for this if you want to, get a few more things. What we're going to do first is click on Create New. And then once again, it's up to you if you want to pick something else, but I'm going to pick Art Grid because it's 1000 by 1000, gives me a square, which I like working with, and I'll go Create. Perfect. So we've got our digital setup here. We have this space. This is our actual page where the checkerboard pattern is. And it shows that there's nothing here. It's see-through. There's nothing. There's not even a background color right now, which is a great place to start for us. Over here, we've got all the tools. And then over here, we've got layers, which will come into play right quick and will allow us to do this symmetrical work that we want to do. And finally, another thing that's going to be key is zooming in and zooming out. So that's at the bottom here as well. Awesome. So I have my photo. I grabbed it. I just dragged it onto my desktop. Now I'll drag it off my desktop and put right on the page. It's going to ask me if I want to create something new or add it to the current thing. And because I've made my page already, I can go add to current. And you're going to see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, that I can only see part of the page. And then we've got this blue line around the rest. And that's okay. It's okay that the blue line is there. It didn't get rid of our picture. It just doesn't fit on the page, which is good. It means that my photograph is good quality. If yours shows up and it's tiny on the screen, chances are that's not going to look good. It's going to be very pixelated. So you probably want to choose something that's going to fill up the space at least, if not a little bit more. Look at those little arrows that I have. So when that little compass is on there, the up, down, left, and right, That means that I can move this around, and you can also transform things. And if you want to get back to that, that's your first tool at the top. That's a range. So once you're on a range, it will allow you to move things around as well as some other stuff that we'll get into. If we look at the layers now, we can see we've got a layer here and we've got an empty layer, and we'll look more at that as well, but it's important to note that we've got that on there. So the first thing that I want to do is I have this is the copy that I want to keep. Okay, so I'm going to keep cutting things out of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I will right click or hit these three buttons. And I will come down to here where it says duplicate layer. If I do that, you can see it makes a perfect copy. That's what duplicate means. So duplicate layer, now I have two of the same thing, which is perfect because I want to keep this one perfect. And it doesn't look like there's two, but if I move this one, you can see there's another one behind. I want to keep it actually in the middle. So to go back, if I want to move this back, I just go back a step. I can hold down Command and then hit Z, or on Windows, you can hit the Windows button and then Z and hold it down. So I'm going to click on this little eye to make it invisible. Now I can just see this one right here. I'm going to click on it because this is the one I want to work on. And now let's cut something out. So you can go down to this tool right here, the little scissors, says cut out, does exactly what it's saying. And so what I'm going to do is you can either, cut something out and then have it keep what you cut in the middle, or you can do the opposite, whatever thing you circle or actually cut out, then it will get rid of everything else. So what I'm going to do is make this really easy. For me, I like to use this lasso. This one is kind of like an eraser, even though it looks like a paintbrush, it'll erase. But I'm going to use the lasso and I'm going to click on keep because I want to keep what I circle, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. To be as accurate as I possibly can, I'm going to take advantage of zooming in. And then now that I've got this in the center, I can click and just drag and grab all the stuff that I like from here. So I'm just going to circle around a lasso exactly what it sounds like, just like a cowboy or a cowgirl would have, where they bring it around something. And then once you let go, poof, everything else disappears and you keep only what you circled, right? Just as advertised. Excellent. So now I already have the first layer, the first image, the first element out of 3. And of course, you can do more than 3, but 3 is the minimum. Right now, this is great. This is perfect. I'm going to click on the eye and I'm going to hide it. I want to cut another piece out. So I'm going to click on the 3 buttons. I'll duplicate this the original layer, get rid of that, and I will make this one visible. And I'm working on this one because I've clicked on it. Don't forget to do that. Now I want to cut out something else, but it's down here. I'm going to come back up to Arrange, and I will slide the image up. Perfect. Now I can see him sweatily pouring chemicals. I'm going to head down to cut out. I'm going to make sure I have my lasso. I'm going to keep what I circle. And now I'm going to do the same thing. So if you want, you can cut your things out perfectly. You're seeing that I'm cutting it out and I'm leaving a bit of a buffer, because later when I combine these, it's going to look good. However, some people may want to cut their stuff out perfect. And so you can absolutely do that. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I've got my second element. Now I'm going for my third. I'm going to make this invisible, so I'll work with it later. Come back up for the last time, and I don't have to duplicate it again, but just in case I need something else from this image, I will duplicate it because it's nice to just have that. I don't have to find it again later. I'm going to click and make this one visible. Make sure I'm clicking on this because I'm cutting out on this layer. And once again, I'm going to go up and move. And I'm going to zoom in. Now we're creeping on the creep. How do you like that? One thing you can do also is if you hold the spacebar down, you get this little hand. And so once the hand is there, if you hold the spacebar, now you can click and move it around like that. It's called pan. If you're looking at other apps, it's also on there. So now I want to cut it out. You will know the drill already. I'm going to go to cut out. I'm going to go lasso. I'm going to go keep what I cut. I'm going to give him a nice buffer around, not going to cut right on the line. And Boom. Awesome. So now I'm pretty much done getting my elements. I may add something else in. We'll see how this stacks up. But essentially now I want to figure out how I want to combine these things together. So I've got this scientist, I've got I'm pouring, and then we've got this person. So what's going to be the composition? The composition is how you put the images together, right? Because I could make a million different compositions with these, making them bigger, smaller, flipping them, doing lots of different stuff to them. But what I'm thinking is I want to have this in front, this one in front. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go Command Z, undo. Thank you very much. I want to grab this one. I think will be in the middle. This one will be at the back, and this one will be in the front. So I'm just gonna stick this in the middle. I may make it bigger, smaller later, but let's do that. I think I'm gonna make it bigger. Woo. And I'll put that there, and I'm gonna put it so it's sliding off, so I'm coming right to the edge. So I get an all-over composition is what that's called if we're using art terms. Oops, go Command Z. Sometimes this is a little touchy, it's weird. You have to click, even though the picture is only this big. Pixlr is a little bit weird in that it still has the full page size, so it can make it awkward to move things around. So right now you can see that this is underneath the creep, and so I want this layer on top, and that's easy to do. This is the layer I'm working with where he's pouring. All I have to do is click and drag this, and you can see the creep is on this layer, and this one's on the bottom. So now that I moved it, now this one's on top. So that's great. That's exactly what I want. And I want to make this bigger. And so I end up, if I want to make it really big, I just end up pulling on the edge and then moving it back and forth like that. And then I'm keeping an eye on, okay, this is about the center of my page. That seems good. That seems really close to what I want. And I'm making it go off so that I can see right there. There, that looks awesome. Okay, finally, the back layer. You can see how awkward this is. Now it's like I have no choice but to grab this one. So I may end up having to, no, I'm grabbing that one. I may end up having to turn these ones off so that I can just grab this one yeah, there we go, perfect. This one is small, it's gonna be in the back, and I think I'll probably keep it about this size. And let's turn this back on. That looks pretty good. He's staring creepily. And if we're finding the center, it's probably there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move these things over just a little bit. I may have to shrink it down again. And once again, I think I have to move those. There we go. Okay, so that's gonna go here. Maybe it'll go up a little bit. And then finally, this one, scientist is going to move right about there. That should be good. Okay, awesome. So now I can actually make this symmetrical, and it's very easy. Just a couple clicks here to make it happen. So let's start with the front because it's the biggest image. It's going to be the easiest to see. So we've got this one. We want to copy this, and then we also want to flip it. So all we got to do, you already know how to duplicate. So you can click up here. You can duplicate the layer. We can see that the layer got made. There's two of them. They're one on top of the other, so we can't really see the other one, but that's okay. Whichever one, doesn't matter. We'll pick one, and then we'll come over to here, and underneath the first arrange style, once again, these ones are up here. So there's so many buttons on here, right? But this one is flip horizontal, and it has a picture left to right. So boom, if I click that, then we see it kind of disappears, but it's because it flipped over that way. So don't worry, that is not a problem. I'm going to just hide this one for right now, and I'll grab this. Ooh, it didn't flip for me. Let's try it one more time here. Flip, there we go. Okay, excellent. So now it flipped. You can see it actually flipped the right way now. I'm gonna turn the original back on, perfect. And what you'll notice is that there's some snapping guides. So right now you can see this little green line comes up when I put them on the same level. And that's great. That helps us put it exactly in line with each other. So it makes it easy to make it symmetrical. And then look at that, there's the symmetrical magic. We've got two bottles, the hands are joined. It ends up making something really interesting and special in the middle of this picture. This looks like it's set up really nicely. So let's move on to the next one. So let's turn on to the next layer here. We've got the creep. What we'll do the same thing. We'll duplicate. We've duplicated it. And then now let's give it a flip. And we can see it over here. And let's see if we can move it. Nope, I'm grabbing that one. So this is the one thing about Pixlr that is not great, that it doesn't get rid of all this extra space. And so maybe there's something different that I can do, but I don't know what that is at the moment. So we'll do what we got to do. We're going to get rid of those for a second. We can move our creep over, and look at that. That green line's telling us exactly where it should be. And now I'm looking at the text. I'm looking at little clues to see how far I need to go. So the exclamation mark is getting exclamation mark, not the park, is getting cut off just a little bit. And so that's what I'll do on this side, because I know it's good for height. That looks great right there. Awesome. So as I go, I'm just going to double check, making sure this is stacking up really nicely. Yeah, this looks good on top of that. And then finally, let's turn this guy on. There we go. So that's good. We've got this piece. I think it's going to touch the center just a little bit. So that will be good. And then we'll probably have to bring in something in the background to make it so that there's no background spaces that we haven't stopped up. So one more time, I'm going to hide these things, and we'll work our magic with the duplication and the flip and slide it over, get it to the center. That looks great. Look at this. Look at what's developed here. I love when this happens, when it looks so interesting. And then once you have them touched, this is another thing too. The guides help you match it up and down, but you can also grab both layers. If I'm on this layer right here, and I hold down Shift and I click on this one, I select both, and then now I can move them around as a pair, and I can find the center. See that purple line? That lets me know that it's perfectly on center, and I'll end up doing that with all of them. I might as well do that right now. Let's go with this one, and we'll grab it, hit Shift, and we'll slide around. I think it was pretty close anyways, but now we know for sure. This is one of the beauty parts of digital art. You can't do this in real life. I love creating things in real life, but there are some advantages to both. There we go. That one's perfectly centered. Excellent. Look at this. We've got it stacking up really nicely. Perfect. Okay. So now we've got our main elements in here. The last thing I'll do is I'm going to take our original, and I'm actually going to stick it down. I'm going to take the layer, move it all the way down underneath everything. And sometimes you can get lucky moving this thing around. So what I might do is I might get those ghosts at the top. Look at that ghost face at the top. That looks awesome. This part looks fantastic now. And I may end up keeping this right here because we've got the symmetrical piece. We've got him in the middle as this kind of focal point, and then everything is matching. I definitely got lucky on this one. This is looking fantastic without much work at all. Sometimes you have to collage some other things in there, but I'm liking this a lot. Okay, so this is looking good. I think this looks fantastic. You can see I didn't have to painstakingly cut everything out perfectly. You can leave a little buffer depending on what type of images you're working with. I will show you one last thing with say this creep right here. If I wanted to see a little bit more of my person back here, this is one thing I could do. I could click on the layer that I want to affect. I could go down to cut, and like I said before, this is kind of like an eraser. You can see the brush size and that it's soft around the edges. What I'll do for mine is I'm going to take all the softness out, so it's got a hard edge, you can see, and I'm going to make it, yeah, that's a good size, and you can see it on the screen here now. So if I wanted to cut it a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner, then I could actually use my eraser and cut this thing here. And I won't actually do it, but like you can see, you can come around it. And then if you really want to be precise, once again, you want to use that zoom and then pan around, and then you can go like right up next to this bald head and cut right around there, right? And again, I'm not going to do it, but that's a way you can do this as well. Okay, so now that the image is done, I've got it to where I like it. It seems like I've done all I can. I've developed it. The final stage is, of course, saving it so that you can submit this thing. So what you want to do is come down here and click on save. Surprise, surprise. And then what you want to do is save as a JPEG. So that's coming up right away. Fantastic. And save it high. That's good because we only chose a canvas that's 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. And that's not huge. It's a good quality. So you can go 100% if you want. Somewhere high is fantastic. And then so now this will download it to your desktop, hopefully, or your downloads. And you could pick where you want to, I guess. Look at that. Go on desktop on it. And then now you can take that file straight over to assignments and drop it in there. All right, fantastic.